So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I've just been outside and it's bucketing rain, so I'm going to leave my hat on. If that's okay, I think I can do whatever I want because at the end of the day, and that's what it actually is here in Ireland, Aston Villa signed Pau Torres, and he also gave me a bout of the coughs. There we go. I got that one out. I'm lost for words. It went with my breath. He took my breath away, the Pau Torres. Any other kind of superlative that you can think of, but Aston Villa have done some really, really good business today. Signed a long-term target of Unai Emery's and Pau Torres. Brought him in from his former team in Villarreal. For if John Percy is to be believed, and we often do, because let's be honest, John Percy is a man of incredible repute, a man of incredible integrity, and usually when John Percy speaks, people listen. He said that Pau Torres' fee won't be anywhere near the 55 million release clause, and it actually comes in around 31.5 million, which is quite incredible, to be honest with you. Really, really good business for a 26-year-old Spanish international. So before we get on and we look back at these statistics that I looked at some time ago with you guys, let's take a little... I'm going to pull up my notes that I made on Torres with regards to when I was looking at his tape, because serious bit of business, as I say. We're going to go and we will talk about Aston Villa's four centre halves, I suppose, at the moment. I think it is a talking point, and we will talk about those in a moment. But Pau Torres, as I said, Spanish international footballer, plays centre half for Villarreal and the Spanish national team. He's 26 years of age, being born on the 16th of January. Quickly over the last 3 years, if that even makes sense. But quickly over the last 3 years, he has emerged as one of the most promising defenders in La Liga. Combination of physicality, technical ability, and tactical intelligence. When you look at Torres' play, you just know that defense is the first thing in his mind. And then also progressing the ball up the field is the second thing in his mind. And very much cuts a figure of this modern day centre back. Combination of as I said there, he's established himself as a reliable presence within the heart of the Villarreal defence, registering more touches and more accurate passes than any other La Liga defender last season. He had 256 touches in the whole lot of last season, which is quite a lot. So remember when I talk to people about workhorses and about the ability to be able to I suppose grab the game by the scruff of the neck, or to to have that comfortability in owning possession, drawing a team out. Spoken about it before, along with the Unai Emery wants us to be progressive in this coming year. He just does. Every single player that we get linked with has a higher progressive passing rating, has a higher has a higher progressive passing and a higher progressive carry rate than nearly anybody in our current squad. We know exactly where Unai Emery, or we're beginning to see exactly where Unai Emery is seeing the downfall, or the weakness of our team, should I say, is, and that's the ability to be able to progress the ball forward without having to go to the wings and carry all the time. We need to be able to pass it through the lines, draw teams into certain areas so that we can create that space and hit them like we did an awful lot last season. Remember last season, it was always said that Emi Buendia was great at creating that space. He was a very selfless player last season, creating that space in front of Ollie Watkins for the likes of John McGinn, likes of Jacob Ramsey, likes of Douglas Luiz to move into from midfield, so that when we got those passing triangles going, we could get the ball in there, and then we would have space in there. Having somebody with the ability to do that further back the field with a good passing range, with also a good comfortability factor, I suppose, at being loaded with the ball all throughout the course of the game, being able to take it off our goalkeeper as we do pass that ball out from the back now is really, really important. I said he's 6'3". He is an imposing physical presence. However, he doesn't really get tasked that much with being dominant in the air. He's if you were to look at his aerial percentages and stuff like that, and the amount of aerial duels that he has per game, you'd come away thinking that he's not good in the air. He is pretty decent in the air. It's just that he's kind of like Ezri Konsa this season. Ezri Konsa hasn't been tasked with being that person to go win the ball in the air. Pau Torres won't be either. Tyrone Mings will be, because Tyrone Mings is imperious in the air. He's really, really good in the air. And as I say, it's like some statistics can be misleading, because statistics can be misleading sometimes. When you go and you watch Pau Torres, he doesn't have 50p head or anything like that. He can get his head in the ball when he needs to. He can get that ball away. He's just that guy that likes to stay low to the ground, I suppose, really, if you want to use that phrase, and be more of that that modern day defender that's able to play that ball on the ground, and he absolutely does it really, really well. He does excel in these defensive duties, has exceptional positional awareness and reading of the game. Anybody will tell you that. He knows where to be. It's instinctual to him, and that's really, really great. I'm going to enjoy watching that for Aston Villa, because sometimes, I suppose not really since Unai Emery has come in, but definitely under Steven Gerrard, definitely under Dean Smith, we were very reactive in a lot of our positioning. Having somebody that almost has that McGrath-esque or that McGrathian ability to be able to be in the right place at the right time and frustrate teams, block off passing lanes. That's something I think I mentioned about him when I spoke about him previously, is, you know, his ability to see that hole or that potential chink in the Villa backline, or where that ball is going to go, and maybe step up to be that 1 or 2 steps closer to an attacker, so that maybe it just gets the person who's playing the ball, gives them a second thought about, should I actually play it there, because Pau Torres is there, and he's a very accomplished defender, and I kind of want to play the ball away from him. And when you watch Villarreal, that's kind of what teams did. They didn't go directly for Pau Torres, which is always a compliment in itself. Really good anticipation skills, allows him to intercept passes and make timely tackles to regain possession. Excuse me. Ability to quickly close down opponents and maintain a strong defensive shape will make him a very valuable asset within the team. One of Torres' standout qualities is his composure under pressure. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. I do apologize. Composure under pressure. He remains calm in challenging situations, and often makes the right decisions when distributing the ball or clearing it from a dangerous area. His ball winning skills, coupled with his ability to initiate attacks from the back, make him the ideal modern centre back, and that's what I've said there previously. So I'm going to bring up the statistics for him here. Excuse the dodgy Photoshop that I did there. It makes him kind of look like he's got no neck, but that's the best I could do at short notice. I've been traveling all day, so I'm going to bring up the statistics here, and you guys can take a look at them here when we while I'm speaking through this as well. And then I will get your comments, because I'm aware that there's tons of comments in there. Torres exhibits a high level of technical ability for a centre-back. Passing range and accuracy are impressive. Enables him to contribute in the build-up play from the deep positions. He's comfortable with both short and long passes, which allows the team to quickly transition from defence to attack. And that's what I think Unai Emery wants us to be able to change up the pace, wants us to be able to suffocate teams by owning the ball, but wants us to be able to then spark into action and change up and be that counter-attacking team through Alex Moreno, or maybe even through a new winger that we bring in on the right-hand side, or maybe even a new pacey forward that we bring in up top, because I think everybody can agree that's probably where the focus is going to move with our next purchases as well. As I said, very comfortable with both short and long passes. Yeah, I mentioned that there previously. Torres' ball control is also noteworthy, as he can confidently carry the ball forward when space opens up. He can stride it out into midfield. We all love to see Tyrone Mings do that from time to time, you know, when he takes that ball forward and maybe beats that midfielder, passes it off, receives it again, and everyone gets off their seat. Everybody loves when you've got a good rangy defender that can do that. Look, I put it in there. It's not a massive part of his game. It's something he can do, because he's so good with the ball at his feet. So it's something that maybe he might be tasked with doing if we are to try and break a high press. What's the best way to break a high press? Move past it. It's difficult because teams are so good at pressing nowadays. But if you can move past it, well, then that's obviously that's how you beat a high press from the strikers. You bring it back in into you force them to go into a mid block, and then they're on the back foot from there on in. So if we do have two defenders who are comfortable with doing that, once again, it changes the point of attack as well, in my view anyway. Feel free to tell me I'm barking up the wrong tree. Areas of improvement, I suppose, for him, not very many. You're always tempted to say the aerial side of things. I personally don't see any issue with him in the air. I don't. So I'm not even going to mention that. But I think one of the areas where he can develop is he can be quite aggressive sometimes in the tackle, or at least he was. He was the game I watched last season, and it could have just been this one game. Maybe he just didn't like the guy he was marking, or maybe he didn't like the team he was playing. But he got quite close, put it that way, and they didn't forget that he was there. So he can be aggressive at times, but then I will say other times. Then actually, I'm going to contradict myself, because I'm just thinking of a game I watched last season where he wasn't as intense. He wasn't as aggressive, maybe, and maybe relied on his ability, his instinct to get into those positions a small bit more. So maybe I'm probably being overly nitpicky when I mention something like that. It doesn't concern me. Don't get me wrong. He's an absolute brilliant player. It's just something, you always have to maybe pop in a little thing at the end if somebody doesn't have an area of improvement. Well then I suppose then we've really made a great purchase. And as I say, these are only tiny little things, or that's only a tiny little thing. Also, maybe speed over short distances. It's hard to tell with him, because he's so good at his positioning. And I think maybe I'm going to actually remove that from my own notes here. And the reason I'll do that is because while the speed is what it while he doesn't get the opportunity to showcase that, and he could very well be fast, like in the Premier League, I might look at him and go, yeah, that was a needless concern that I had, because his positioning is so good. Because it could be my mind playing tricks on me with regards to that. But as I say, I'm actually not going to categorize that as being a potential area of improvement for him, because he's just so good at being in the right position, so good at reading the game, so good at positioning, and he does, even if he is a small bit slow over the first 5 yards, who cares? Because he never needs to use it. So I'm actually after, that's the beauty of looking back at this. I can always talk myself out of a position if I need to. So look, we've got one of the good guys here. We've got a really good player. You can look at the statistics there. Statistics can be misleading, as I've said before. I like to show them because they either you can use statistics in two ways. As I've said before, they can either be confirmation bias for you, or they can tell a story that may not be fully true. So they're a vital tool to have, and all Premier League teams utilize them now at the moment. But obviously, you're going to need to watch this player and make up your own mind yourself as well. But looking there, as I said, the big thing that jumps off the page is pass attempts, pass percentage, progressive passes. Big areas, along with the ball recoveries, which shows that this guy doesn't jump into tackles, as we can see by his lower tackle rate, and he doesn't jump in to try and just intercept for the sake of it. So he isn't rash in jumping out of a defensive line. He's going to wait. He's going to recover that ball when you make a mistake, and then the fun happens, because he's going to be able to pass that ball like a number 6 or like a pivot. He's really good at that. Let's take it at 99 comments. Yowzers. Comments won't even load. There's so many of them. Let's get back up to the top here. So, JP76 is saying arguably the best defense in the Premier League. A smiley face there might be might let me know, might give me a delve into your mind. I don't know. I don't know we're the best defense in the Premier League, but I think we could be the best set up defense in the Premier League. As in, I think if you were to look at every single defensive player in a silo, Man City are quite impressive. But I think structurally we have the type of player in there that could lead to us being really frustrating for teams. Diego Carlos is still here. Ezri Konza, Tyrone Mings, Pau Torres. They're 4 brilliant centre halves. Like, they're 4 really good centre halves, 4 very functional centre halves, and there aren't many teams who can call on 4 4 centre halves that good. Come the 1st of September, Will we have all of those 4 centre halves? It remains to be seen. But I would imagine Unai Emery won't be in any hurry to get rid of any of them, and it would need to be a knock your socks off offer, I think, for any of those players. I would imagine, to be able to get him to part with them as well. Marine Boy is looking for a winger and a striker. I'd imagine that there's going to be a lot of links to wingers and strikers over the next 2 weeks before we get out to the US. Probably obviously won't. Well, I wouldn't say obviously, but we probably won't have them in before Walsall, which is now 16 days away, 17 days away, 16, 17. My maths isn't great. So yeah, it's unlikely we will have someone in for there, but who knows? The club works fast. Now that Monchi is here, maybe he's going to do a 2-for-1 deal with somebody, and we see what the story is. So all excitement, I think, for who the attacking options are going to be. Rachel, thank you so much. You like the new visual intro? I really appreciate it. We're going to try out a couple of things and see what sticks over the next few weeks, I suppose, before the season starts. Duncan Kilburn says, tremendous signing. I say it again, we'll be playing 3 at the back next season. Mings and Konza going nowhere with Carlos to come back in. We could very easily be playing 3 at the back next season. Yeah, I don't know if other podcasts said it, but I think I've said it since probably maybe even since the turn of the season, or the turn of the year, that like what we're seeing from Unai Emery is absolutely fantastic. He's making lots of, he made everything work with the players that he had. I'm not sure that's the tactic he will play in 2023-24. But even if it isn't, it's fantastic, because think of it this way: think of what he could do with the players he had. He can always fall back on doing that again if he needs to in a sticky situation. But bringing in players he thinks can play in different ways, changing up the tactics, being tactically fluid. We were screaming out for that under a Steven Gerrard. We were screaming out for that under a Dean Smith. I love Dean Smith. I found one of my Smith in t-shirts that I got made up, that I was going to put on sale for a while, inside there actually today, which is ironic enough. But we've been talking about being tactically fluid and tactically dynamics, where we can change in game. We spoke about Unai Emery when he was with Arsenal. He made the most halftime changes of any manager that season. He's not afraid to change tactics up. We were probably a bit hamstrung last season from the fact that we had a lack of depth, and he was getting to know those players. Let's see what 2023 and 24 brings. So I agree with you there, Duncan. We could at times play 3 at the back. We absolutely could. And I think I think that's exciting. I think it's exciting to see a team that's tactically fluid, provided that the players are able to play in all those tactics. It's the mark of a good coach, the mark of a good team. It's a mark of a team that's very difficult to plan against. Yes, PSK. Paddy was messaging me from his séjour today, and he said, geez, that guy got it on the money, didn't he? Got on the money. You were talking about Medical's book for Friday or something like that, I think you said. So seems that's going to be the case. So fair play to you, PSK. If you want to make yourself known to me on Twitter, that would be fantastic. I don't know if you're on Twitter, PSK, but keep popping into the chat. I absolutely love to see your stuff there. You've been right with 99% of everything, if not 100% so far. Ross asks what strikers are being linked to Villa. We'll do a bit of a podcast about that, I think, on a standalone at the moment. Today is about Pau Torres, but I think we're going to see links intensify to maybe players that we haven't yet thought of or haven't yet been linked, because I think a lot of work went into Pau Torres, and I'd imagine a lot of sangria went down the hatch between himself and Monchi maybe last night or the night before to get this one over the line. Where are we here? I'm going to scroll down there because there's a bazillion chats. Josh says that's a great way to put it, Neil. I can't remember what way I put it, but I'll agree with you. Much conversation right now about should we replace these players? Who goes here? Does that mean they want to bring in worse players, improving our passing and control? Yeah, look, I think this summer is, and look, what do I know? I like, genuinely, what do I know? But I think this summer is going to be an addition rather than a subtraction summer. Obviously there will be people who leave. There will be people leave. There is a good team. Josh, Josh will maybe he'll appreciate this or not. So there's American football executive. His name is Paul DiPodesta. He's with the Cleveland Browns, and he has a set of guardrails. And one of his guardrails is that you churn the bottom of your squad every year. So you keep hungry players at the bottom of your squad, or maybe hungry players at the back end of your squad. And what I mean by that is these players that when you turn to them in a time of low depth, or a time of when you're maybe going through an injury crisis, they're going to be hungry. They're going to be hungry. Now, is that going to work every time? I don't think it is. But I think there's validity in it with regards to churning the back end of your squad. I'm not saying you get rid of all of them. You're going to have your war horses that are going to dig into the trenches, the likes of Callum Chambers, who, ironically enough, I think might be one of the people to lose out in the shakeup. But over the last couple of years, when we've gone to Callum Chambers, more often than not, Callum Chambers has gone, give me a shot, boss. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to give 100%. And fantastic. Churning the bottom of that squad, and I probably picked a bad example there, because I could hear the comments coming in saying that maybe we keep Chambers, but you know what I mean. If you start to churn that kind of that middle class of your squad, if you want to call it, there, the guys you can go to, you know you're going to get good work out of, and they may not be a starter, they may not even be in squads sometimes, but when you pull them up off the bench, or when you bring them in out of the cold, they're going to be ready to go because they've done it and they're a bit experienced. I think that we'll see a bit of churn in that area as well, but I don't think we're going to see major names leave this team at all, because I think the board, I think Unai Emery, and I think the squad would. I think the board and Unai Emery know that it's going to be an addition more so than a subtraction year. But I think the squad needs that. I think it needs addition. I think it's a very tight squad. And I think that the dynamic is really good there. So if financially and if operationally, I suppose, the provided it's some Saudi Arabian team doesn't come in and bid 60 million for Dougie Luiz or a player like that. I'm not saying that's going to happen or it has been linked or anything. But if something like that happened, I don't envisage us really having to go out and plug a hole that we didn't need to plug. Or we didn't, the Unai Emery didn't envisage us having to plug, if that makes sense. I don't know that I make any sense there at all. Started talking about Paul DiPodesta. Paul DiPodesta, actually, for anyone out there, if you've seen the film Moneyball, that's based off Paul DiPodesta. Paul DiPodesta is the man that thing is based off. The set, what's his name? Jonah Hill's character is based off Paul DiPodesta in that film Moneyball with Brad Pitt. Come here for the real nuggets of information, don't you? I'm going to scroll down a small bit. Tracer Blakewell asks, how often we see Mings paired with Torres, Neil? I don't know. I suppose it goes hand in hand here with Darren Gahan. Underneath here, it says right fullback position for Konza. I don't know. Like we had this conversation last year, I think, didn't we? Are we going to see Konza? Are we going to see Carlos and Mings paired together? We didn't get to see that, save for one game. I think it was one game. I think the two of them played together against Everton when Konza did his Achilles. I actually don't know. I think it, as I say, I think at this time of year I often fall into the trap of going, well, we're going to play exactly the same way as last year and it's going to work. But I'm not so sure with Unai Emery this year that we're going to play exactly the same way. I think we're going to see tweaks, and I don't rule out the three at the back. But you don't go away and spend 31.5 million on a player and leave him on the bench as your fourth option at centre back either. So I'd imagine we'll see them there a good chunk together, Spencer. I'd imagine that's what we'll do. But as a lot of people are saying here, Konza is a valued member of the squad. Absolutely. Like there's a fair fight on everybody's hands to get in those two centre half positions. There's a real fight there, and that's good. That is good. And I think Ezri Konza has done that before. I think he's, when he first came into the club, he was pushed out to the right back position at times in our first season in the Premier League. Maybe that happens again this season. Maybe we see all four centre halves play in a game a la Man City this season. Maybe we see something mad, like we see Tyrone Mings pushed out to left back. We see Konza at right back. We see Pau Torres at left centre half, and we see Diego Carlos at right centre half. And we go, come at us, brothers, and see if you can break us down. Who knows? Who knows? People like it seemed to be the fashionable thing for Man City to do. I'm not saying that's what Unai Emery starts the first game of the season as, but it seemed like the fashionable thing for Man City to do last season. You know, maybe there's an opportunity. Maybe Unai has a team that he wants to do that against. I don't know. I have no idea. I love this signing. Just in case anybody couldn't tell, I love the signing, and I'm going to sing as well. I'm going to go down to the bottom here. I'm sorry if I'm missing tons of comments. You guys are brilliant, and without Paddy here to fill for me when I'm scrolling down to the comments, it's I think it's a bad watcher experience if I do it that way. So I do apologize. Adam asks, where is Moreno playing with 3 at the back? I think that was for Duncan. That was for for Duncan in response to Duncan. I'd love to see Matty Cash and Alex Moreno play as 2 wing backs. I'd love it if we wanted to stifle a midfield. So if you wanted to go into a midfield, I think it's more so how do they play? I'm not concerned with the three at the back with the 2 of them. I'm more concerned with, not even concerned, but I'm more even excited nearly at how we play in midfield. Do we tighten midfield altogether? Do we play a Kamara, Douglas Luiz, Yuri Tielemans, play McGinn up top off Ollie Watkins, play the 2 boys out wide, and do we try and stifle, press teams in midfield, knowing that we can break at pace with Alex Moreno, and knowing that we can stuff that middle of midfield area while having Pau Torres, who I know I mentioned there about short space bursts, but very rangy over medium, longer distances. We've got Ezri Konsa, who's no slouch running as well, and we've got Tyrone Mings, who's no slouch running. Those 3 guys could definitely cover as a back 3 and allow the guys to press like demons further up the field. It's really exciting if we were to do something like that, I think. And it would negate the fact of having out and out wingers there as well. And then obviously we could change things up if we needed to bring on a winger. We could easily go back to 4 at the back, consolidate in midfield, put the winger up, bring John McGinn back into midfield. So there's a lot of flexibility, I think, in the players that we have at the moment. Dan Bardell did a brilliant podcast with James Alcott and the Ripple Effect. If you haven't listened to it, please give it a listen. It's 90 minutes. I think it's 97 minutes. But it's worth it. If you've got a long journey, if you've got a task to do, throw it on. It's an easy to listen to podcast because the way it's broken up. And James Alcott is a great presenter. And Dan's a great talker as well. But it's a really nice podcast. It was done obviously before Pau Torres signed. But give it a listen because he talks about multifunctional players, and I'm going to rob that phrase off him just for tonight. Multifunctional players, Pau Torres and the 2 fullbacks I think as well can be multifunctional in the way that they can go forward and be concise when or be good as well when they're in the transition backwards too. Yeah, there's one other thing I want to talk about as well is we had an outgoing as well today. Ken Kessler Hayden has gone to Plymouth, tagging Finn Azaz on his way back up from Plymouth. Ken Kessler Hayden tags him on the way back down. I wonder who's looking after our loans at the moment with Millie Ednek gone. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. Millie Ednek is gone to Spurs. I think we did talk about that with Paddy. But I wonder who's looking after our loans management. If anybody knows, if anybody read it, I've been very slack on getting news in the last 24 hours, just with work and things like that. So if anybody knows that, pop it in the chat there. But I think it's going to be a good loan for him. I would have liked to have potentially seen him go to a team that plays 4-4-2, or sorry, plays with 4 at the back, should I say. He's gone to another team that plays with wing backs. It's fine. I've got no problem with it, but I think the biggest area of improvement he needs is defense. Maybe Aston Villa have seen him. Maybe. Hey, we've been talking about 3 at the back. Maybe Aston Villa see that as a way forward. But he's gone to a good team with a good manager and Stephen Schumacher there, and a team that really nurtured and did well with with Finn Azaz last season. So all the best to the lad, and I hope he kicks on, because he didn't have the greatest loan spell at Huddersfield last season. And it was Huddersfield, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. And I hope this one goes much, much better for him. Did I say Duncan Louise? I may have said Duncan Louise. Right, I don't know, guys. Does anybody have any other last questions for me? Okay, before we go, let's talk a small bit about Aston Villa today. Aston Villa just went, hey, listen, don't bother investigating us. Look, we're not in it for this crack. We're just going to reduce our ownership percentage of Vittorio de Guimaraes, and we're going to take our representative off the board. Listen, no stress, lads. What we're going to do is we're going to go away and we're going to win the Europa Conference League this year. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back and buy more of the club again when we're not in the same competition. And then the next time we are in the same competition, what we're going to do is we're going to release some of our percentage again. We're going to take our lad off the board again. Absolutely fine. I am in a very anti-Ceferin mood at the moment. I know I spoke highly of him after the Super League piece. And I know a lot of you guys have spoken. I've gone on a bit of a rant about Ceferin, the UEFA head honcho. I've gotten a bit of a negative rant about him recently. And the more I watch it, and the more I look at it, and the more I see kind of stuff he's coming out with recently, he's just no better than anyone. He's no better than people we've seen over the last 20, 30, 40 years at UEFA, unfortunately. And until he proves me wrong, I just think that there's he's not very much a prove it to like, you go in, you look at the state of the Champions League, where the Champions League final was held in the last, or the state of how fans were treated, should I say, with the Champions League final the last 2 years. Liverpool fans getting tear gassed, or whatever it was, in Paris, shouldn't happen. Last year in Istanbul in 2005 had the same issues that it had in 2023. It's outside the city, no problem with that, but lack of facilities once you get out there, searing heat, lack of ability for people to get back into the city again afterwards. And look, UEFA just need to do better. The Conference League this season is going to be in AEK Athens Stadium. Irish fans had a terrible time trying to get into that, and the stadium wasn't even half sold. Like, as in the allocation wasn't even half sold for Ireland versus Greece recently. So I just think that there's a lot more. There's like, UEFA need to look at themselves again before they start looking at teams with multi-ownership pieces and stuff like that. Yeah, ban it if you want to ban it, but ban it for everybody and make sure everybody faces the same sanctions. But Villa have gone away. They've done what they needed to do. They still have an interest in Vittorio de Guimaraes. I would imagine that one will rumble on. I don't think there's any ill feeling between either of the two teams, and I think that there's a gentleman's agreement there for everything to continue as it was. That's my 2 cents on that. A couple of people asking me how much can PSK, set up an old fake email address there and drop us a line, and for the love of Paul McGrath at gmail.com if you want. A couple of people asking how much of Villa to how much of Villa to spend. I genuinely don't know. Prove to me the financial fair play is real, and I can then I'll have a go at it. Prove to me it's real, and then I'll have a go at it. Prove to me that Chelsea aren't going to get some sort of a whop of a bus, financial fair play bus, anytime soon, and then we'll start doing the how much can Villa spend game, because creative accountants are probably better than 20-goal strikers, I think, for football clubs at this moment in time. And who's to say that we haven't got a couple of them coming in from America with Chris Heck? So who knows? Who knows indeed. Right, I'm going to go. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Thanks so much, as always, for listening. I know I said I was going to do a podcast every day, and I didn't do one yesterday, which was the first day after I said I was going to do a podcast every day. But I'm going to come back again tomorrow, and we'll have a little chat. Anything that breaks, we'll get Aston Villa wise. I think that there's going to be a lot of news over the next 2 weeks prior to Walsall. Definitely over the next 3 weeks prior to prior to the United States trip. My jerseys should be here next week. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. If any of you guys have got one already, let me know what the quality is like. I've heard some really good reports from so far. I've heard other people who've been a bit underwhelmed. I'm looking forward to making up my own mind on it. And I'm also looking forward to the training gear, which I hope they announce soon, because I must say, I've gotten great wear out of this top since I got it last season. I'm looking forward to upgrading it again this season. So thanks a million, everybody. Going to see you later on. To see you tomorrow, should I say. Thanks a million for watching. Thanks a million for listening. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Give us a subscription if you aren't already subscribed. If your mother, your brother, your uncle, your cousin, your barber, your postman, your milkman, the fella that you meet down the post office, I don't know, anyone you think that might like this podcast, throw them our way. We're on about 5,500 subscribers on YouTube. It would be fantastic if we could grow that. So if there's anyone you know, tell them about us. If they like us, they might subscribe. If they don't, well then at least they gave us a shot, and that's all we're looking for. So thanks so much, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.